All the bosses in Silksong have a story of their own, and all of them intertwine with the grandmother of Silk at some point, a higher being that took control over these lands and the lives of its residents. It's not that easy to find lore in Hollow Knight. The bosses are the primary source of revealing the story. By understanding who you kill, you'll understand the main lore of Silksong. So, let's discuss these bosses in the order you encounter them in the game. If you're interested in any particular one, you have the timestamps right here. The first impossible obstacle that people almost quit the game, and it is the reason for all the criticism regarding the difficulty, is the Moss Mother, also known as Mossbag's Mother. The Moss Mothers are responsible for most of the fauna in Moss Grotto. They are the adult version of the Mossmeres, but in the fight they call Moss Grabs, and in the background we can see something between a Moss Grab and a Mossmere. So I think this is their life cycle, from egg to grab to Mossmere to giant. There are a few other creatures that are not related to them, but mainly these guys own the place. They are also giant moss grabs, but these are a result of the Citadel experiments and don't have anything to do with the mothers. The moss mothers makes their nest and lay eggs quite fast and everywhere, even around the snail shaman's basement. When the hunting came, they didn't change that much, only made them a bit more aggressive, and that's kind of all the lore they have. Not really a great start, and quite a few bosses are like this in terms of lore. Also, the reason why the moss mothers attack Hornet is because they try to protect their nests and offsprings, so you are the bad guy here for killing them. Next enemy is Hornet Personal Transportation. The Bell Beast has a hard bone shell that allows her to burrow and travel around the Bellway paths. All these bells are coming from the dead pilgrims that in time piled up everywhere, creating these paths that were probably used by the other bugs in the past, but not the pilgrims since they are not allowed to use them. In the game, Hornet can find the Bell Beast trapped in silk threads. Hornet helps her escape, but she starts to attack her. After the fight, out of respect and as a thanks for freeing her, she allows Hornet to ride on her back around Farlum. In Act 3 she even gives birth to 4 offsprings. That helps Hornet to go back to their mother. In an interview, Loren, a voice actor for a lot of the characters in the game, says that Lef told her she can pat the Bell Beast by hitting her, and it is speculated that this whole fight was actually Hornet patting her, not really hurting her. Which is a bit disappointing because I always hit her to show the last stag is superior, not to pat her. She doesn't even know how to talk, stupid dog. The fourth chorus is a giant automaton made by the architects from the Citadel. Their purpose is not really clear, but I personally assume they were made with the intent to build or mine. The one we fight in the game even has an attack that looks like it's mining, and the fact that this chorus is situated around a lava zone that has lots of valuable ores around gives this theory a bit more sense. All the automatons have a sad backstory. The automatons are powered by cogs and gears, but that wasn't enough to make them function, so they were also stuffed with the weaver silk to be able to do their tasks. The real tragedy occurred during the conductor's rule over Farlum. In the White World, the bugs of the Citadel used to do lots of experimentations with the silk, stuffing silk into bugs' shells to make them immortal alongside other things. The bugs that were beyond saving had their remaining essence extracted and turned them into silk flies, and now these bugs were forced into eternal servitude to the Citadel, even after death. They are mainly used for lamps, but they were also used for these automatons. They have a sentience similar to a regular bug, and that's because the silk flies were put inside them and now they kinda possess them. They are forced to use these metal cages to take care of the core. They no longer even know who they are, they only know they have to serve and work eternal. The automatons in the core have only one silk fly in them each, but the fourth chorus, because of its size, has a few dozens of them in it. The Nidalin dialogue even shows that. We are one, we are many, voices together. It seems that all of the flies were combined together to give the chorus sentience. It is speculated that the fourth chorus is in the Farfields because the Citadel sent it after one of the Pintresses, and it looks like they engage in combat since she is the one that deactivated the chorus with her pin. I personally don't think that's the case. I mean, why would you send a giant slow robot after a skilled agile target? I personally think the fourth chorus was sent here to mine and started to go mad when it got hunted by the Silk Mother and attack everyone near. The Pinterest has her home nearby, so I believe that she wanted to set up her home here and the fourth chorus was in her way. Or the chorus was killing the bugs in the area, so she deactivated it to be able to live in peace there. I don't know how long ago the Pinterest fought the chorus, but I don't think it was that much in the past. The chorus has signs of erosion, so I would guess that the chorus was there much more longer than her. The savage Beastfly is similar to the Mouse Mother. She is the adult version of the Beastfly. One of them was captured by the ants and it looks like it was worshipped by them for some reason. In the chapel of the beast there is a praying room with a giant fossil of a creature that looks very similar to the savage Beastfly. Hornet can get the beast crest from it, so I guess the ants had bring the beast to have a living version of the fossil to worship. The savage Beastfly tries to escape her cage and when Hornet finds it, the beast shifts its anger towards her. Honestly, they deserve their suffering, cause they caused me 10 times more and they are the worst bosses in the entire game. The next two bosses have a common story, so I will pair them together. Nyleth is the queen of Shellwood area and she ruled it until the Silk Mother came. With her plant powers she transformed a barren area into a place filled with plants and plant creatures. When the Silk Mother threatened them with destruction if they did not submit and devote themselves to her, Nyleth chose to let the Silk Mother integrate them into her kingdom and allow them to build structures around and grant them safe passage through her domain. But she died for an unknown reason and the Citadel built a shrine in her name and memory. I have a little theory about her death. Nyleth actually had a sister and that's Sister Splinter. Nyleth's powers were related to flowers and brambles, while Sister Splinter's powers are related to wood like branches and twigs. After Nyleth's death, her sister and her kin took control over Shellwood. She made her nest in the heights of Shellwood and she and her kin were very hostile towards anyone who stepped in Shellwood. So traversing Shellwood was a very hard task for the pilgrims after Sister Splinter became the new queen. It is likely that she was the one to kill her sister so she could take control over the area. Shellwood actually becomes a safer place after Hornet kills her, but that will take a bit of time because her tribe is still there attacking others. Throughout the game a plant starts to grow from her body, but I don't have any clue what it means. Could she be reborn from there? Did she eat Nyleth and now she will be reborn from her corpse? Or her corpse will just transform into a plant, continuing to live in a different form? I guess only a DLC could tell us more. The Skull Tyrant is the biggest living predator in the meadow area, and that's because the bone armor they wear is the skull of another bigger creature that once lived here. The entire meadow area is formed of bones. The majority were from the dead pilgrims, but it seems that once very large creatures used to live here, and the remaining ones used their bones as armor to hide from other predators. If Hornet defeats the Skull Tyrant, another one will appear in the bone bottom, destroying the town and killing Pilby. No, you monster! At least he got a decent-ish funeral. I mean, everyone sings for him, but then they just throw his corpse at the bottom of Moss Grotto and left it there. They didn't even know his name. Moorwing is a type of mite, pest that made lots of nests around and infested Greymoor. Moorwing in particular was bred by the bugs of the Citadel. They most likely choose a normal flutter mite to breed, and through some probably unethical experimentations they made it extremely large. They most likely combine it with other species because they don't look just like a bigger version of the flutter mite. The memorial is filled with giant version of the creatures we can find around Farlum, but Moorwing looks to be the only one that was used by them. The others were either left in the memorial or they just throw them back into the wild, probably for other types of experiments. Bugs were tasked to use Moorwing to catch the workers in Greymoor who tried to flee from their tasks. When its wranglers died, probably because of the hunting, Moorwing was able to escape, and now he stalks the towers around Greymoor, chasing and feeding upon any pilgrims or bugs that comes by. After Hornet defeats it, the flea caravan moves in the area and takes the corpse of Moorwing with them all the way to the putrefied ducks, and they just cook it and eat it at the flea festival. Even Hornet might have tasted it a bit, said more than sure. The great conchflies are the big elder versions of the conchfly. This type of bugs have a soft body, so they use the coral in the area to craft a shell of sharpened coral that can be used offensively in combat, by spinning around at rapid speed to cut through crust and bone. The two conchflies are mates. Once partnered with a mate, they will be together for the entire life. Unless Hornet comes and kills your partner. The other conchfly fled after its mate death, and later seeks revenge, raging in combat against Hornet, but got killed as well. Also, all the conchflies that she summons might be their offsprings. Fun fact, it is from their Hunter Journal entry that we learn that Hornet had a few mates in the past, but they all died out before her. So yeah, she got at least one trait from her father. From now on, we're getting into the much deeper lore territory. The Widow is the last remaining pure weaver alive in the entire game. The weavers used to sing songs to sustain the Silk Mother's light. After the weavers learned about their true nature and how they were just a tool for her, they decided to betray their mother and take her place as the rulers of Farlum, all with the exception of Widow, who remained loyal to the mother. Widow has her mask removed and pins shoved into her back so she could never produce silk again. It is not said if this is a self-imposed thing. Hornet calls this a punishment, so I think the Silk Mother did that to her as revenge for all the other weavers betraying her, which is quite ironic since she is the only one that remained loyal to her, yet she is still punished for that. This just shows how cruel she is and how little she cares about them. She just shifted all her rage upon the only weaver she could get her hands on. We don't know what happened with Widow while the weavers ruled the place. Probably she went into hiding, or maybe she took the side of the mother only after the Silk Mother's curse started to spread. She condemns and hates all the other weavers, referring to them as the ones who dare to flee. Because she isn't able to produce silk, she can only guide the silk to reach new targets and help the hunting spread faster in order to free her mother from her cocoon. Widow is even aware of Hornet, probably from the time when she was still on the weaver's side, or she might have learned that from the Silk Mother. In the game, Hornet can find her in Belhart, guiding the silk to hunt the bugs in the town. When she sees Hornet, she wants to capture her to bring her to the Silk Mother, but she gets defeated and Hornet gets the only weaver ability she still has, to sing songs using silk, which is the needling ability. One thing that doesn't really make sense is if Widow had the ability to open the weaver's nests, why she and the Silk Mother didn't capture all the weavers in them. The nests are described as a place outside of the Silk Mother's gaze, and they are a bit hidden, so they might have not known where the nests are located, but it's not really that hard to find them, so I guess you would need something else besides the ability to sing. Otherwise, this kinda looks like a plot hole, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with their mask that she no longer has, or maybe they need to use their own silk or something like that. I don't know. For now, it remains a weird mystery. The last judge and all the other judges were tasked by the weavers to work as a final milestone for the pilgrims. They will judge any pilgrims that will come in their sight, and if they deem them unworthy, they will kill them. There are a few criteria in order to be deemed pure. The main one is that you should not kill anything in your pilgrimage. Innocent bugs like Sherma are ignored by the judges, and they allow them to walk away. The judges were kinda brainwashed by the weavers from a very young age to believe that this is a holy task and they are chosen for this. They will start as squirms, and when they will grow up, they will equip themselves with the armor and weapons left at the entrance of their nests. The last judge is the biggest of them all, probably because of her very old age. She's described having this role for countless generations. The last judge is the true final test. She'll be the one to decide which pilgrims are sinless and allowed to pass through the Grand Gate and enter the Citadel. The other ones, she will just smash and burn them. And it seems that the majority of the pilgrims were in the second category. Luckily for the pilgrims, there is another entrance in the Citadel, or I guess unlucky because this is even harder to reach, and as far as I know, nobody passed through here until Hornet. The grandmother of Silk might be a pale being, but she had one big flaw, and that was that she couldn't have a child. So she tried to make one, then having none, and Phantom seems to be her first try. Her body and life was created entirely from silk, but she had a major flaw as well. Her body was very fragile anytime her silk stretched in and her shell stiffened, so she was considered a failure. She was tasked with the duty to dump all the waste from the Citadel into the bile water area. She now sits alone in her chamber playing the organ that emitted a combination of silk and steam that surrounded a portion of the bile water and Sinuous Road, creating the mist area that no one managed to traverse it until Hornet. When Hornet finds her, she is in a decaying state. She wishes to die in battle then wither away, and it seems that she got her wish. She and Lace are sisters, both artificially created by the Silk Mother, and both having such big flaws that they even hated the life she granted them. They cannot even call this a life. So the only thing that they did was to live in suffering. The Cogwork dancers have a tragic romantic story. Like I said, all the automatons are brought to life or made sentient using silk flies, with only one exception, which are the Cogwork dancers, because they were made from the body and soul of one of the princes of Verdania. Verdania and the Silk Mother were in conflict from long ago, and when the weavers took over the throne, it seems that they, or the architects, wanted to create a more powerful automaton that they will use to guard the cradle and the Cogwork core. For an automaton that complex, they needed a mold, so they decided to use one of their enemies as a mold. They offered one of the princes of Verdania a deal. They will leave their territory alone if he offers himself for the creation of their automatons. Despite his partner's complaints, he decided to accept, all for the peace of Verdania. So the architects used him to create the Cogwork dancers, mimicking the fighting abilities of the Clover dancers. His lover hated the citadel even more now. He could no longer sit on their throne alone, so he decided to go and confront them, but he was imprisoned in the Sinner's Road and remained there ever since, and Verdania was destroyed by the citadel. After Hornet defeats the Cogwork dancers and frees the Green Prince, he will take the remains of his lover and mourn him alongside his old home in the empty caves that were once called Verdania. Hornet can enter in his memory and witness this gorgeous area, where she will take the heart of both of them. In the end, both the Green Prince and his partner died alongside each other. While still being here, I guess I could also talk about another boss that is found in this memory. The Palestag is a bit hard to talk about because it is a myth made real inside the memory. It is said that the Palestag is the first Clover stag of Verdania, making it kind of an ancient being. She was one with the flora around and she could command the grass and leaves and use it for attacks. The two princesses hunted and defeated her, which nobody else had been able to do that before. This was the proof for all Verdania's residents that they were worthy to rule over them as kings. But the game and Hornet makes it seem like all of this is just a legend, and the stag didn't exist as it is described in the myth. Hornet says that the stag was made real because of the memory, and she doubts that it existed exactly like she saw in the memory. I mean, just the name alone tells you that this is an exaggeration, because there is no way this is a pale being. If that was the case, the princes would have no chance against it. It seems that the pale beings are really considered godlike by the other bugs, since they make legends and myths about them. Trobbio is a very extravagant and dramatic bug. He was hired probably during the conductor's rules, because the weavers didn't care for stuff like that. Trobbio really loves to overperform on the stage and entertain his audience. Despite his goofy persona, he is actually quite strong, because he is one of the few bugs that wasn't hunted by the Silk. So in case if you're wondering, yeah, that's his regular personality without any other influence like the others who became more obsessed and crazy after they got hunted. This is his regular. Surprisingly, Trobbio also has a plan to free Farlum from the cursed silk, and that's by performing an over-the-top dance battle. And these performances were quite real because he would really kill his opponents. He probably thinks that the more real the event is, the more chances are for his spectators to be cured from the hunting. So yeah, this guy is so narcissistic that he really thought his spectacle would cure the bugs from the hunting. Hornet manages to definitely kill him and we will never see him again, yeah. That's why in the third act she can meet and fight with his twin brother, Tormented Trobbio. I'm not really supposed to tell you this, so this remains between us, but they are the same guy. Shocking, I know. In Act 3, now that Farlum has come to an end, Trobbio is consumed by melancholy, and he wants to have a final spectacle to share the suffering of death with others. So it seems like he just likes to profit over the suffering of others for more views and a bigger audience. He would make a great YouTuber. The Unravelled and the entire White World have the creepiest story in Hollow Knight. During the conductor's rule over Farlum, they discovered that they can cure bugs of sickness, prolong their life, and even bring them back from the dead by using silk like the weavers did. So the conductors and the surgeons made countless experiments on the bugs and shoved silks inside their shells. By doing this over countless generations, the bugs began to be born with silk already inside them. They could now serve the citadel and the conductors and produce song for eternity. But this These experiments were very painful and cruel. Some bugs even got possessed by the silk, losing their sense of self, creating the enemies we see in the area. Any bug that could not be saved and bring back with the silk had their remaining essence taken and turned into the silk flies, to serve for eternity as well. They will not let any bugs escape, all of them must serve. After they got their essence extracted, their bodies were burned, so the silk they had in them will be scattered in the air, and the bugs in Greymoor will be the ones to collect it and send it back up to continue their experiments. There is even a recording of Conductor Mizelo making one of these experiments, and it sounds like an exorcism. All the bugs that got possessed by the silk were just thrown into a pit under the White World and left there. The Unravelled boss is an amalgamation of countless bugs that got consumed by the silk. They combined their husk and will together that manifested into this. They seem to have taken the form of a conductor, using their mantle or armor. The conductor seems to have used the silk for them as well. The only one we have in the game is sick and uses a silk device that works similar as an infusion. So it looks like one of the wheels inside the Unravel is a conductor. Probably Conductor Mizelo, the one that, you know, spent a lot of time in the White World. So yeah, definitely not a story to tell to your children. Forebrothers, Signis and Gron are two brothers that were sent by the Citadel to oversee the workers in the deep docks. When the Weavers decided to make the Citadel, they needed a lot of resources in order to build it, and these resources could be found mainly in the lava zone, so they sent workers there. But the work conditions were terrible and many died because of, you know, lots of lava, explosions and hot things around. Signis and Gron were the leaders of the area. They are the ones to command and instruct the workers what do they have to do daily. If anyone would complain, disobey or not complete their work on time, they would be punished by them with the hot and explosive weapons they have, like we see in their fight. Even after all the bugs in the deep docks, including them, got hunted by the silk, they keep continuing their work, despite becoming mad. And the two brothers still continue to lead the endless excavation of the area, even if they are no longer really necessary. Chef Lugoli was once an exalted chef of the Citadel. They were exiled from it at some point for what is described as repeated culinary crimes, which probably means they used a bit of cannibalistic and exotic ingredients. More specifically, their specialty was pickled maggot. If you can't tell, this is made of maggots. After Lugoli was kicked out, they returned to their original home cave, which was in the Sinner's Road area. At that time, because the workers in the area and also Greymoor were so preoccupied with their task to catch silk in hopes that one day they will be allowed into the Citadel, which never happened, that they didn't even grow their own food. So Lugoli decided to save these bugs and cook for them. No one will starve under their watch. But since there was little to no food in the area, they needed a constant and reliable food source, and Lugoli knew exactly what to use. Inspired by their specialty and also bile water, they took some maggots from the bile water and infected all their waters with them. When the maggots would grow, they would become macroaches. They are a type of bugs that breed and multiply a lot and very fast. So the solution was to feed the macroaches and maggots with each other, and since they multiply more than they eat, or at least more than they allow them to eat, these macroaches are very skinny compared to what a fully fed one looks like. They managed to create an infinite food source. Lugoli and their assistants would cut the roaches and feed it to everyone in the area to avoid starvation. But things don't stop here. Remember when I said they used cannibalistic ingredients in the past? Well, when someone would die, Lugoli would not let that food to waste, so they put their corpses in jars to be used for later, and that applies for any potential food source. After Hornet defeats Lugoli, if you return in the area, you can see how their assistants are preparing them as well for serving. Even after Lugoli and everyone else got hunted, the work still continued like it did so far. In my last video about the entire story of Silksong, I omitted to talk about the Wisp Ticket area, and that's because it is a very small part of the story and it is not really connected with anything. But now it's time to talk about this. In Wisp Ticket resides a cult of fanatics named the Burning Bugs. In this area lives wisps, some short-lived flies born from the flames. The bugs started to worship these wisps, but we don't know when or why. I personally think it was when the curse started to spread, because thanks to the flame that was burning the silk, they managed to avoid the hunting. Some of you might say, but hey, they still give off silk when hit and you can see silk particles emitted from them. And you're right, but I have two explanations. One is that skills, some bugs that are found on top of Farloom, they still feels Hornet silk spool when hit, and that's because the weavers had the ability to turn soul into silk. The enemy still gives off soul when hit, so Hornet can turn that soul into silk. That's why the bar is refilled despite not being controlled by the silk. The second one is that this might be a constant battle between these bugs and the silk. The silk might try to control them, but they burn it away and this repeats constantly. This could be a reason why they carry these lanterns with them. So regardless, these bugs began to worship the wisps and the flames. They learned to create and control the wisps. The burning bugs took pilgrims in the nearby areas and burned them. Then they hanged their ashes all around their area. They eventually built a totem in the image of their god that they named the Father of Flame. This totem was able to produce a lot of wisps. In the core of the totem there is an old corpse that was probably a Jesus-like figure for them and was put there to give a body to their god or to manifest their power through it. After the totem is destroyed, the burning bugs no longer fight Hornet and just turn themselves into 3 wisps at her side. That will die in like 3 seconds. Groal the Great is the chief and leader of the Stilken tribe. They seek revenge against the Citadel because they dumped their waste into their homes and have turned their once beautiful sets of caves with lots of waterfalls into an infected swamp-like area. The Stilkens eventually adapted to the infection and were able to swim in the waters, from where they will attack any intruders. They also set up lots of traps around so no one would ever enter in their territory. At some point, a snail shaman thought that they and the Stilken have a common enemy, so they had gone there to make an alliance with Groal. But when they arrived, the snail shaman was killed and hung in one of their nests. Groal stole and used the snail shaman's souls to power up himself, using the attacks that might look similar to Hollow Knight players. But it is never said that even with his new powers, if the Stilkens ever attacked the Citadel back, they only attacked the intruders and rejected them as far as we know. I guess again a DLC could tell more about their story. I mean, who wouldn't want to explore more of Bilewater? People love this place. The Voltvyrm is a nest of charged worms that can be found in the Vault Nest area, where you can find a lot of them all around. They have the power to produce electricity and are unaffected by the hunting. They possess only basic thoughts and act only on instinct. The Voltvyrm would attack anyone who would invade their nests. And that's about it. I mean, we can speculate on what they look like, but I don't think you would want that. Despite these bugs being the jailers of the slabs, they too are prisoners here. In the past they committed a sin so grave that all of their future generations would have to penance for that sin. They were given the chance to serve the slabs as jailers to penance, but in reality the Citadel never cared about the prisoners or the jailers, so both of them were stuck in this place. I personally think that even this sin didn't even happen, or it was more of a pretext so they could have jailers to take care of whoever the Citadel didn't like. They even equipped them with powerful tools that can capture even a being like Hornet, which is top tier. The Broodmother is the matriarch of the slab, and very rarely she is seen outside of her nest. She is the one to give birth and breed all the jailers' kind, and even after she is killed or just die, another one would immediately take her place, continuing the cycle, and ensuring that she will lay lots of eggs so the slab would continue to have its jailers. They too hope that one day they will be freed because they are sick of this place as well. The first sinner is one of the original weavers created by the Silk Mother. It is very likely that she is even the first one that was ever created. That might even explain why she looks a bit different than the others, and we know she looks like that since her birth. Her mask was not broken later. The reason why she is in prison is because she committed the gravest sin. She turned against the Silk Mother. At some point she learned about how the weavers were created, and she realized that they are just a tool for the mother and they are expendable. The first sinner was one of the most talented weaver of them all. She was able to create runes from silk like we see in her fight, and these runes might have been used for seals and other stuff later, but this is just speculation. There is a bit of mystery surrounding her story. The lore implies that she was imprisoned because she betrayed her mother, but if you look at her cage it looks like it was made by the Citadel. It even got that yarn symbol on it. If the mother was the one that imprisoned her, why the other weavers didn't free her after they took the throne? And if she was imprisoned prison for that long, how she knows about the so-called half-span of distant lands. It seems that actually the other weavers had imprisoned her and not the Silk Mother, since she knows so much, but the game never says anything about that. So my only guess would be that she told the other weavers that they weren't divine and just a regular bug turned into what they are now. And this might have come as an insult, or they didn't want to let her tell the others about their nature. They wanted to be perceived as divine. Or maybe she wasn't a power-hungry weaver and she didn't desire the throne like the others, so they just tossed her in the slab so she wouldn't make any trouble for them later. The Silk Mother is the main antagonist of the game, and she is basically responsible for a lot of the bad stuff that happens in the game. The weavers and the conductors did a lot of bad stuff as well, but she is the source of the curse and she is the one that invaded this territory in the first place. So talking about her would mean to talk about like more than half of the story, and I will only do a short summary here. If you are interested in the full story, check this video out where I explain the entire story of Silksong in chronological order. Trust me, it's pretty good. So long story short, the Silk Mother is a pale being. Each pale being seems to have a unique power. She had the power to create silk from soul, and this silk had countless applications. One day she arrived in these lands where many different tribes lived. She decided to make this place her own, so she gave all the current residents two options: to submit and worship her, or to get completely destroyed. Many chose to fight against her. For the war she created the weavers by evolving the Farlets with her silk. After the war was over, she was usurped by the weavers and they trapped her in a giant cocoon of silk and kept her asleep using songs. But eventually the Silk Mother started to slowly awaken, and she used her power to spread the silk around the citadel and then Farlum, and attach it to all the bugs she could, taking control over them and making them mad. She ordered them to hunt the weavers for revenge and to free her. She even finds out about Hornet, and she wants her to come to Farlum to free her from her sleep. Hornet does that with the help of the shamans and opens a portal to the void, where she is dragged down in the depths of the void lake. And skipping a few steps, she is ultimately consumed by it and Farlum is freed from her influence. Again, this was a very short version of that story. It's a lot more complicated than that. Not too much is known about the Bell Eater. It was situated deep inside the Bellways, dormant for a very long time. This centipede creature was awakened and enraged by Farlum's crumbling collapse, and now it is very hungry. What this creature eats? Well, since the name is Bell Eater, I assume bells, which are plenty in this area. Or more likely, creatures like the Bell Beast. They even had a fight, and she alongside Hornet manages to kill the Bell Eater and protect the Bell Beast offsprings. Now, in Act 3, with all that void, earthquakes and this entire mess, the kingdom is doomed to be destroyed. The crows assume that Hornet was the one responsible for this and she is summoned by them for a trial. The Crawfather is the judge and he decided that Hornet is guilty and sentenced her to death. Well, at least they tried. Even Hornet admits that she kinda deserved this judgment since she played a big role in this destruction. It's odd to see these stupid crows having a leader and justice and a goddamn court. Khann was the leader of a big army known as Krak. He had the power to command the coral crust, so he might be the one who created a lot of the structures in the area. He believed the weak should crumble away. He conquered the lands nearby, expanding his domain. This included the entire sands of Krak and blasted steppes, and later even half of Farlum. So he was the closest being to do what the Silk Mother did. In fact, in the story so far, he is the only non-higher being to control so much territory. His army was formed of very loyal and trained soldiers that were very skilled in battle. The army even had battle formations and ranks, but for the less combative bugs, his would have been a hard rule. Khann and his army resided in the Coral Tower. When the Silk Mother had come to Farlum, she battled against King Khann and his army for a long while, and they were the last of all the tribes to be defeated by her. King Khann died on his throne in the Coral Tower, surrounded by his most loyal servants. His domain is now just a wasteland, formed from the remains of his army that turned into dust in time. This is why the place is now called Sands of Krak. It's filled only with their remains. But there is still one soldier that remained here. The Watcher at the Edge is the only soldier that is still alive. They were stiffened by time and had lived far beyond their time. His last task was to defend the border of the kingdom, and they kept their duty even to this day. Hornet can awaken this soldier using her song, and even she is impressed by how skilled this soldier is, even after all this time. So these guys were really no joke. Skarrsinger Karmelita was the queen of the ant tribe. She was the most talented and skilled ant, and with her beautiful voice she united all the ants in her service. Despite their numbers not being as big as King Khann's army, it looks like they were even stronger than them, because when the Silk Mother invaded their territory, thanks to Queen Karmelita's power and songs, the ants had the strength to resist the Silk Mother the longest. King Khann and his army were defeated last, but the war with the ants had begun long before that. Hornet comments that Queen Karmelita's skills rivaled her own, so she was probably the toughest enemy for the Silk Mother to defeat, and the game shows that. Unlike the other groups, the ants are still alive. They no longer have a proper territory and a nest, they are just scattered around the Hunter's March and the far fields. Both of these areas were their former territory, but now it was in the control of the Silk Mother and later the Citadel, so they had to stay hidden for the most part. And even Karmelita is still alive and free to this day, unlike all the others. Her body grew old and weak, her tribe can no longer even recognize her song. Because of that, the ants no longer had the strength to fight off the Silk Mother's control, and eventually most of them got hunted by the Silk. Now Karmelita just stays hidden deep in the far fields, forever cursing the Silk Mother and the Citadel. She is still able to offer some protection for the ants tribe, and she wishes to free her kin from the Silk. The only thing she could do was to offer her strength to Hornet in hopes that she will be the one to save all the others from her control. After Hornet takes the power, she finally passes away, ending her story. We actually know an ant that is not controlled by the hunting, probably because of how strong and skilled he is. Gurr is an outcast of the Skarr tribe. He is an expert in hunting and killing prey. He likes to seek and hunt big and strong prey to keep them as trophies. In his den, Gurr has quite an interesting display of trophies, like crows and bugs from Greymoor, a Grand Reed, meaning he managed to even get inside the Citadel and escape probably undetected, which is something unheard of, and he also has a Last Claw, a type of ants that were present during Karmelita's rule and it seems now to be extinct. So it looks like he has been doing this for quite a while, and he doesn't care about what type of prey he hunts, as long as it is strong and offers him a challenge. This is most likely the reason why he is an outcast. He hunts even his own kind. The ultimate prey he wants to hunt is a pale being, and Hornet is the perfect prey for that ultimate trophy. He wants to do that to test his limits and to prove he is the best and strongest hunter that ever existed and to complete his collection. But he didn't reach that goal and he was defeated by Hornet, making her the ultimate hunter, I guess. But she is a pale being, so that doesn't count. She had it easy, she is already kind of a god. Before we talk about the final boss of the game, we should discuss about a boss that can be found only in the Steel Soul mode. Many of you probably didn't even know it exists, so spoilers I guess, but who the fuck even plays Steel Soul mode anyways? In this mode, the Steel NPCs returns. These bugs serve the Masters, mysterious being that seems to know how to control the Void to some extent and are watching over Farloom and Hallownest, but we don't know their motives or even who they are. Sula is still Steer Z's vassal, and both of them serve this Masters. Sula was tired to serve under the Masters and to see the bugs suffering around them without being able to do anything. So Sula decided to run away from the Masters, but the Master will never accept betrayal. Still, Seer Z wants to find and capture Sula, either dead or alive, to avoid their Master's wrath on both of them. Sula, knowing her Masters are after him, he used his knowledge about the Void to call upon a champion that will protect him from the Masters. Z asks Hornet to go after Sula, and when she found him, he started to call upon the Void. The Void united the corpses around to form a body. Hornet manages to kill the champion and she lets Sula to escape and run free. Despite this, Z actually hopes that Sula will be free for as long as possible. She does care about him and wants the best for him. She knows he was suffering, and now Z only prays that her Master will not kill her for letting this happen and will not go after Z to kill her. But we don't know what will happen next. Team Cherry had plans even before Hollow Knight was released to make more Steel Soul enemies, but as all of you can see, they didn't. So I guess they will explore this more in the future. I'm tired of saying this. I saved Lace for the last spot, despite having a fight in each of the 3 chapters, because she is the true final boss of the game. Lace is the second daughter made by the Silk Mother. She, just like her sister, has a major flaw. She is stuck forever in the body and mind of a child. She hates her life and resents her mother for making her like this. The only thing she did was to wander around the Citadel while the others avoided her. She lived only in pain. When the Silk Mother learned about Hornet's nature, it is possible that one of the reasons she wanted her is because she is the daughter she always desired. She is half weaver, meaning she is related to her, and she is also half pale being, so Hornet is just like the Silk Mother in nature, a pale being that can create and use silk. So in her eyes is basically like her daughter. She wanted her mother to notice her, but she cared more about Hornet. She was desperate for her attention. Lace tries to kill Hornet so her mother will focus on her instead. She might even be the one that helped Hornet escape for the same reason, to get her out of her mother's sight. But Hornet still moved forward and seeked the Silk Mother. Lace tried to stop her 2 times, but she wasn't able to do so. When Hornet opened the portal to the void, she was grabbed by the Silk Mother. In that moment, Lace decided to come and free Hornet from her clutches, but she was dragged down instead alongside her mother. This was her last rebellion. She wanted to deny her mother's desire to get Hornet. She shifted all that anger towards her, and it seems that down there in the void, Lace got her wish in a way. The Silk Mother actually cared about Lace. When the Silk Mother and Lace arrived in the Void Lake, she used all of her powers to create a giant cocoon around them to slow the void entering and corrupting her daughter. But the void used the silk that was spread all around the kingdom and corrupted it. Everyone who was hunted was now also corrupted by the void, and the place started to crumble from the mother's fight against the void. If this stuff goes like this for too long, the entire kingdom will be destroyed, and Hornet wants to stop that, so she goes there to save Lace. Lace is somehow able to make a shadow figure to speak with Hornet, probably a power she got from the void or something like that. Lace was satisfied to see her mother losing and being ended by the void alongside herself. I mean, she kinda wanted to die anyway, so this is a win-win situation. Lace even wants this entire kingdom to crumble away and for everyone to die. She doesn't care about anything. But Hornet still decided to go after her. When Hornet got inside the cocoon, Lace was already corrupted by the void, and she was turned into lost Lace. But Hornet was still able to save her, and that was by beating her ass until all the void went away. The mother got consumed, and Hornet was able to save Lace and bring her to the surface, and it looks like they lived Farlum together, since in the title screen we get after this ending, we see both of their weapons together in the wasteland. People speculated that now Lace will have to stay with Hornet since she is the only being that can still make silk, so Hornet is the only one that can keep refill Lace silk and keep her alive or something like that. I personally just believe they are a couple now, a partner that will not die before Hornet like the others. Kinda too good for an ending. I mean, the knight and all the other siblings are stuck in the void and Hornet gets laid? Well, how is this fair? And this was the story of all the bosses in Silksong. Now, you might have noticed that this is not exactly true and I omitted a few, and that's because these ones are more NPCs than bosses, and I saved their story for another video where I can discuss everything about them, not only just their boss fight segments. And that will be in the video where I will discuss the story of all the NPCs in the entire game. So if you like this video and want more, be sure to be subscribed and stick around for more stuff just like this. If you really enjoyed this video, leave a like because it helps out the channel, and be sure to let me know in the comments what was your favorite boss in terms of lore, or if there was anything more to add to the story that I haven't mentioned. TLDR, what you should remember from all of these different stories is to not neglect your child, otherwise they will beat your ass and drag you into the void.